Chat, we are back, and I'm so glad to be back. Sorry if I sound a little stuffly, nasally. I'm still getting over being sick, but nonetheless, you could not stop me from getting in this chair and doing a live stream on Sunday because I know you guys out there need as much fantasy football insight as possible, and that's what I'm here for. Straight up, that's what I'm here for. So if you have any fantasy football questions of your own, now is the time to ask. Do not be shy. I'll be here up until kickoff answering your fantasy football questions. So let's go. I am so glad to be back. I am so happy to be back. Let me go live on TikTok. We'll say what's up to the TikTok people out there. Oh, I got to change the title. Hold up. Gotta add a topic. There we go. Welcome aboard TikTok. We are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. If you have any fantasy football questions of your own, now is the time to ask. Do not be shy. I am here up until kickoff. So if you have any playoff matchups, any must need to know who's in, who's out, is Chris Olave playing, is he not? Chris Olave is playing. But if there's any other players that you have in your fantasy lineups that you need to start, do not hesitate to ask. We already have Adonai Mitchell worshiper here. That's probably the best thing we could have, to be honest. We have great vibes right now. Great vibes. We have Adonai Mitchell worshiper here. That's just perfect timing for the thumbnail. Perfect timing. If you have any fantasy football questions of your own, do not be scared. Do not hesitate to ask. If you're watching on TikTok, I have must starts, temper expectations. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome aboard. You already know the deal. Ask away. Fire your questions away. Let's go. I'm going to be checking who's in, who's out as this goes on. The mic is on, right? The mic is on. Yes, okay. I just want to make sure. You got your must starts, your temper expectations if you're watching us on TikTok. And if you're not watching us on TikTok, what are you doing? You better be watching me on YouTube. Still waiting to hear for tomorrow night, obviously, if Justin Herbert is going to play. We will have to wait and see and find out on that one. We're still waiting to hear back if... Who else? No, we got confirmation that Amarian Hampton will be playing in that game. Tyrone Tracy is questionable with a hip injury. Let's see what the latest on Tyrone Tracy is at the moment. I'm sure somebody out there is going to have to be playing him in some kind of fantasy football lineup this week. But again, if you have any fantasy football questions, now is the time to ask. Do not be shy. Do not hesitate. It's just me and Adonai Mitchell here. It's just us. Trying to see, can we get any word on Tyrone Tracy playing in this game? No word right now. Okay, no word right now. That is all right. I'm going to go to Twitter because usually that's what I did last week. I was checking Twitter, checking to see if there was any injury updates. The Steelers have wide receivers Adam Thielen and Marquez Valdes-Scantling active today, while Roman Wilson is a healthy inactive. Okay. So maybe, vet Adam Thielen could be on our waiver wire watch this weekend. Maybe Marquez Valdes-Scantling has a game. I don't know if I'm going to be rushing to add them on waivers right now, but that's some interesting news. Dalton Kincaid is active for Week 14. He will be playing. He is in the lineup. Trey Benson, we still have no word on whether he's actually going to play the season or not. If he's not activated this week coming up, his season will be over, so that'll be interesting to monitor. For those that stashed, I know I stashed Trey Benson earlier this season, and I was hoping that he would return, and I made a whole video about him returning. But we don't know for sure yet if Trey Benson will be back or not. Dalton Kincaid, like I said, is playing. Someone that I want to talk about that I kind of downplayed last week, but I was wrong about. I just spilled something all over my beautiful Bo Nix jersey. That's messed up. But I want to talk about Darren Waller. No, I don't have him in my top 12 or 15 tight ends for this week. He did have a good game last week. I wasn't really buying into the hype. But going forward, it is good to know that he's playing the Jets this week. Next week is an even better matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And finally, in Week 16, he's going to play the Cincinnati Bengals. So we know that there are good matchups on the horizon for somebody like Darren Waller. Maybe you can put him in your lineup this week if you need a tight end. Like I said, I don't really have him ranked in the top 10 or 12 tight ends this week, top 15. But he could be a good potential playoff run. So if you need a tight end, maybe that's somebody worth stashing. Should I start Alec Pierce or DJ Moore today? I like DJ Moore's matchup better today. I'm a little concerned. Concern shouldn't be the word about Alec Pierce because he delivers week in and week out. But I am a little more hesitant about playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. They give up the 10th fewest fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position. DJ Moore in an expanded role without Rome Odunze should be better than Alec Pierce. So go ahead and play DJ Moore. Should I start Jordan Mason or Dobbs at the flex? I like Romeo Dobbs this week. I know the Chicago Bears defense is kind of trending in the upwards direction. We were talking about this earlier. But Jordan Mason, we don't know how much he's going to command back of this offense right away. Maybe they ease him back in. Maybe he's still just the short yardage guy and short yardage opportunities. I like Romeo Dobbs for those reasons. Adonai Mitchell or Luther Burden. This is a great question, Milo. Thank you for asking. I like Burden slightly over Adonai Mitchell. I think that, we've seen Burden consistently in this third fiddle role. He gets his, few catches and 40 yards. With an expanded volume and more targets, you would like to assume that maybe this could be a game where he actually puts the full game together, 4 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. It's either he goes for that big play or, catches just a couple passes for 40 yards. I like Burden this week over Mitchell. Great question. Finally, a YouTube comment. Let's go. Swift, McLaurin, Godwin, or DJ Moore at PPR Flex. I like Swift this week. I don't know if I really expect the Bears to keep using Kyle Monunga as much as they did last week. I think last week was just a product of the run game was so successful, they had no choice but to keep feeding the ball to both DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monunga. I think you're still going to get Kyle Monunga gets 8 to 12 carries in this offense, while Swift is going to handle the rest of the bulk from there. So I like Swift over definitely Godwin and DJ Moore. For Terry McLaurin, though, that one could kind of go either way. I'm still going to side with DeAndre Swift, though, but it is a great question. Joe Burrow or Devin Neal or Josh Jacobs? Definitely Josh Jacobs in this one. Joe Burrow or Sam Darnold? Let's see. I'm going to slightly go Burrow, even though it's a bad weather game. It's going to be a bad weather game. I don't know if I really trust Darnold. They're going to be in a dome in Atlanta. The weather kind of concerns me for Joe Burrow. I guess we could go Darnold. Pick 3. T. Higgins, Burden, Ladd, or Godwin. Definitely T. Higgins, definitely Ladd, and Luther Burden over Chris Godwin. Not that I don't like Chris Godwin, but Luther Burden in an expanded role should be more favorable than Chris Godwin. I know they say they're going to ramp up his targets and stuff like that, but you got Jalen McMillan coming back. The wide receiver room is starting to get crowded again for the Tampa Bay Bucks. We don't know how much they're really going to be throwing in this game. It's probably going to be a run-heavy game. I like Luther Burden for those reasons. Thank you for the follow, Eli. I appreciate that. We are live on YouTube. We are live on TikTok. If you do not have us on YouTube, Outlier Fantasy on YouTube, definitely go check us out. Try to do this every single Sunday right before kickoff. Try to make videos throughout the week, who to add, who to start, things of that nature. This week I was sick. I just got over having the flu, so I wasn't able to record any videos. That's why I'm making sure I get to this live stream today. If I sound a little under the weather, now you know why. Let me check in on the weather in Buffalo. I'm just going to type in Bills on Twitter, see if anything pops up. Yeah. I mean, it's not snowing right now, it looks like. Or, let me check the weather. Because I am kind of still teetering on the fence. Do you play Burrow? Do you play Sam Darnold? Yeah, I'd probably still go with Darnold just to be safe, but it's hard to say sit Joe Burrow. That's all. It just doesn't sit well. Kincaid or Andrews? We know Kincaid is going to operate as the Bills' number one option as soon as he steps back into this lineup. I'm still going to say Mark Andrews over Dalton Kincaid, but Dalton Kincaid is a better matchup. The Bengals give up the most fantasy points to the tight end position. So, for those reasons, I do like Mark Andrews more, but Dalton Kincaid is a great matchup in his own right. That's scary, Eli. I mean, you never want to go up against Josh Allen in the snow. That's just a recipe for a disaster. You never know how that's going to go. James Cook, at least you know that there's a chance that he could fumble. This is a player that's been fumbling lately, has the fumbleitis. It's going to be tough weather environment. That could be tough. Bijan probably going to break out, and Nico Collins is going to have a stud day. Myers or Watson? I like Jacoby Myers more. It seems that no matter who the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing at the wide receiver position, Brian Thomas could be there, could not be there. It still feels like Jacoby Myers is the guy that has the rapport and the connection with Trevor Lawrence right now. Feed the hot hand in fantasy. That's what I always say. So let's go Jacoby Myers because that is the hot hand right now. But it's a great question, Caden. Thank you for stopping by. Let's see. Do we have any injury updates for the time being? We know Jaden Reed has been activated off injured reserve. He probably won't be playing in this game today, but they have 21 days to bring him back. That 21-day window is about to open. Woody Marks or RJ Harvey? I'm definitely going to go with RJ Harvey over Woody Marks. The Kansas City Chiefs are very stout. I believe they give up the second fewest fantasy points to the running back position this season. So I definitely like RJ Harvey in the volume over Woody Marks. Woody Marks is still in a backfield, as we know, splits the carries with Nick Chubb. So for those reasons, not to say that RJ Harvey is the sole back, because we see Tyler Beatty, Jaleel McLaughlin get sprinkled in. RJ Harvey is at least the guy when they get down to the red zone or they're about to score, they use RJ Harvey. So you got to feel good about that for those reasons. Second guessing my lineup. Starting Nico, but need two more wide receivers. Olave, Devontae Smith, McLaurin, Debo. I'm going to say go Chris Olave. No, it may not be the prettiest answer of that group. It may not be the guy that you drafted with the highest pick. You have Devontae Smith, you have Terry McLaurin in that group. But I really like Chris Olave this week. I think there's a chance that against the Bucs, it's a good matchup for wide receivers. Maybe not so much because they don't have a great quarterback, but they're in a dome. They're going to be trailing from behind. There should be a lot of opportunity for Chris Olave to get his. So I like Chris Olave above the rest for those reasons. But it's a great question. Thank you for stopping by and asking. Let's talk kickers and defense. I feel like that's a very underrated part of fantasy football. If you can go grab Harrison Mevis. Harrison Mevis is playing the Arizona Cardinals. There will be a lot of fantasy points in this game. I understand there's probably going to be a lot more touchdowns than field goals, but if they're going to score 3 touchdowns and kick 1 field goal, you're right where you need to be in terms of fantasy points for a kicker. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Need 2 more wide receivers. So we definitely like Chris Olave. Then it really just comes down to, do we want to play Terry McLaurin or do we want to play Deebo Samuel? Terry McLaurin looked pretty good in his debut back. I feel like that's reassuring enough to say that you can go ahead and play Terry McLaurin. Devontae Smith, I would stay away from. The Chargers are 9th fewest in fantasy points allowed to the wide receiver position. We know the Eagles' offense hasn't been perfectly humming in the passing game. And if Justin Herbert doesn't play and the Chargers fall behind ahead really quickly, this could be a Saquon Barkley run the ball type of game. So for those reasons, I would probably stay away from Devontae Smith and I would play McLaurin over Deebo Samuel and Devontae Smith for those reasons. Myers over Smith and McConkey. Yes. I would play Jacoby Myers over Devontae Smith and Ladd McConkey. Daniel Jones or Joe Burrow? So we got asked before if I would play Sam Darnold over Joe Burrow, and I felt like that was a really tough call. I didn't know what to make of it. I kind of sided slightly with Darnold, but I feel like anything lower than Sam Darnold, like a Daniel Jones tier, you're probably just better off playing Joe Burrow. McBride or Warren? It's got to be McBride. I mean, it sucks to tell you can't play Tyler Warren, but how could I tell you to not play Trey McBride? That's just crazy. Bam or Gainwell? I like Gainwell this week slightly more. Neither one has a great matchup, but I'm going to slightly go ahead and say Gainwell. Egbuka or Jacoby Myers? I think you have to play Emeka Egbuka. I don't feel great about telling you to do that, but Jacoby Myers has a great matchup. The Indianapolis Colts give up the 4th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. I still can't tell you, though, to sit Emeka Egbuka for him, so you got to play Egbuka. Where are we at? I got a lot of people rolling in on TikTok. DJ Moore or Egbuka, Emeka Egbuka. Ladd or Christian Watson. I'm going to slightly say Ladd. I know I just gave the reasons that Justin Herbert may be out of this game. It's a little dangerous to play that. But Christian Watson, even though he is the hot hand, could be boom or bust for you. So I would probably lean towards Ladd. Stafford, Daniel Jones, or Caleb? Stafford. Jacoby Brissett or Lamar Jackson? That one kills me because you never really know what you're going to get out of Lamar right now, but I can't tell you sit Lamar Jackson confidently. I know everything you've seen the last 4 weeks or however many weeks since he's been back from injury after the Thursday Night Dolphins game hasn't been very good for Lamar Jackson, but I still can't tell you to sit Lamar Jackson. Like that's just crazy to me. Deebo Samuel or Jordan Addison? Deebo Samuel. Cam or Kaimi Fairbairn for kicker? Let's go Kaimi. Actually, no. We're going to go Cam. Cam is the better choice. Devin Neal or Monungai? Monungai is a touchdown streak. I'm still going to roll with Neal because you can't bank on the touchdown. I'd rather just roll with the volume and potentially a touchdown than Monungai's 8 to 12 carries potentially, and maybe he gets a touchdown and keeps that streak going. All streaks have to come to an end. That's also something to keep in mind. Should I start? I'm going to say Donton Trayvon because I don't know who any of those players are. Start Allen or Stafford? Got to play Josh Allen in the snow. The game is literally made for him. He's going to be running around like a kid playing, backyard football. Got to be starting Josh Allen. Judkins, Gene and Hampton. Got to go Judkins, Gene. I think that they're going to ease Amari and Hampton back into the work. Kamani Vidal has been solid, been reliable for them. So for those reasons, I would say Hampton's got to be left on the bench, just at least so we could see and diagnose what the situation is going to look like. Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow? Jaden Daniels, I am going to side with Jaden Daniels on this one, but it does concern me that he could literally walk into this game and get injured, so that's something to keep in mind. But Joe Burrow in the snow, obviously he still can ball out, but it's going to be a lot tougher for him, so I like Jaden Daniels. They're playing in a dome in Minnesota. It's a little safer, even though, like I said, he could get bounced out of any game at any time. Sutton, Waddle, or Watson? I think you have to go Jalen Waddle. I think you have to go Jalen Waddle. Maybe the matchup isn't so good and the run and the game script won't be there for you, but I think you have to go Jalen Waddle. He's just the best out of that group. Patrick Mahomes or Jordan Love? Always got to play Patrick Mahomes. I know it's a tough matchup, but he's Patrick Mahomes. How are you going to sit Patrick Mahomes? Thank you guys so much for stopping by. If you have any fantasy football questions, now is the time to ask. Do not be shy. Do not hesitate. I am making sure I get to every single one of you. Mahomes or Daniels? We just talked about this one. We didn't talk about this. I would go Jaden Daniels over Patrick Mahomes. Sorry about that. Mooney or Burden? Definitely Luther Burden. I do not like Darnell Mooney this week. I know Drake London is out. Darnell Mooney's been all right since Drake London's been out, but this is a tough matchup. This is probably not even going to be a game script where they may even be trailing. This could be a Bijan Robinson monster day. So for those reasons, I like Luther Burden over Darnell Mooney. Godwin or Brian Thomas Jr.? That is a tough call. That is a tough one. If I had to side with one over the other, I'm still going to go Brian Thomas Jr., but I don't feel good about it. I'm kind of just chalking it up to Brian Thomas Jr.'s matchup is better. So for those reasons, Brian Thomas. DJ Moore, Myers, or Chris Rodriguez? I like Jacoby Myers the best out of those three. Texans or Commanders defense? Let's see. Texans or Commanders defense? Let's go Commanders. And Waller or Kelsey? Definitely Kelsey. Adonai Mitchell or Monangai? I like Adonai Mitchell slightly over Monangai, especially in a PPR league. I would definitely be playing the wide receiver over the running back, especially because this running back in particular is someone that, yes, he had a monster game last week, kind of gets 8 to 12 carries every game if you check the box score. Godwin or Myers? I like Jacoby Myers. Jones or Brissett? I like Jacoby Brissett. May, Wandale, and Bucky for Josh and Bijan. I'm giving Bijan side. I wouldn't give up Josh Allen and Bijan Robinson. I think that there's a chance that, you would acquire Drake May, and not to say that Drake May hasn't been awesome. I love Drake May, but Drake May's got to play the Buffalo Bills. We don't know what that game's going to look like. Look at the weather in Buffalo right now. I mean, I know they're not playing in Buffalo. They'd be playing in New England, but you don't want to play a game where the Bills defense kind of has an advantage plus weather to kind of ruin that for you. Choose two: Herbert, Caleb Williams, Tyrod Taylor. I'm going to say Herbert if he plays, and Tyrod. Vidal or Hampton? If you have to play one, I would go Amari and Hampton if it's a PPR league. DJ Moore, Alec Pierce. I like Alec Pierce slightly over DJ Moore. Shakir or Troy Franklin, nervous about the snow. Yeah, I'd be nervous about the snow too. Let's check the matchup against Troy Franklin. If it's a great matchup, we can play him. If not, I'd be a little hesitant. Let's see. Yeah, you could play Troy Franklin against the Raiders. That's a good matchup. T. Higgins or Troy Franklin. I'm doubting Higgins because of the blizzard. I would be a little worried too. But T. Higgins is a stud. Like, do you really want to leave T. Higgins on your bench? That one scared me. I'd probably go T. Higgins. Do I start Burden over Pittman? I wouldn't start Burden over Pittman. I don't like the matchup for Michael Pittman, but I don't think it's enough to make me want to play Luther Burden over him. Neal or Monangai? I like Neal slightly over Monangai. Swift, Pittman, or Swift? Well, being that Swift is there twice, I guess we'll go Swift. Lamar or Stafford? Stafford over Lamar. Jaden Reed, I don't know how much they're going to use him in his first game back. I would be very scared of that. CJ Stroud or Shador? Go CJ Stroud. Adonai over Shakir? Yes. Jawan Johnson or Luther Burden? I would go Luther Burden. Burrow or Daniel Jones? I would slightly take Joe Burrow still. Watson or Godwin? I would take Christian Watson. Hampton or Neal? I would take Devin Neal over Amari and Hampton. We don't know how much Amari and Hampton's going to play in his first game back. Thank you, Kool-Aid, for giving your bets. But I'm not really here for the bets. This is more fantasy football talk. Pittman, Hunt, or Monangai in the flex. I would say Michael Pittman. Luther Burden or Adonai Mitchell. Luther Burden. Slightly over Adonai Mitchell. Mitchell or Downs. I would play Adonai Mitchell. Neal or ETN. Definitely ETN. AD Mitchell or Terry. Definitely Terry McLaurin. Daniel Jones or Nix. Definitely Bo Nix. Definitely Bo Nix. Flowers or Pierce. Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers actually has a great matchup. This should be a get-right game for the Baltimore Ravens offense. We'll see how that goes, but I'm taking Zay Flowers over Alec Pierce. AD Mitchell or Terry McLaurin. Definitely Terry McLaurin. Lamar, Jaden Daniels, or Brissett. I would play Jaden Daniels. Hampton off IR tomorrow, but Vidal has been a powerhouse. I'm starting Vidal over Devin Neal. Okay, that's great. I'd still take Devin Neal over Kamani Vidal. Brian Thomas Jr., Jaden Reed, Troy Franklin, Blake Horn, pick 2. I'm going to say Brian Thomas Jr. and Troy Franklin. Jones or Myers flex. If that's Aaron Jones, I would take Aaron Jones over Jacoby Myers. Monangai or Neal. I'm taking Devin Neal over Kyle Monangai. Puka or Rice. Damn. Puka or Rice. I think you just have to play Puka. Unfortunately, you have to set one of them, which sucks. Kincaid or Waller at tight end. I like Kincaid slightly. Michael Wilson, Adonai Mitchell, Luther Burden start 2. Definitely starting Michael Wilson. And I like No, I've been telling people start Luther Burden over Adonai Mitchell, so I can't change up on you now, Jake. Play Luther Burden, play Michael Wilson. Herbert or Sam Darnold. That's a tough one because I don't know if Herbert's definitely going to play, but I like Herbert better, assuming they're both healthy. Stafford or Hurts, who should I start? I'm down 88-0. Yikes. Just know you still got a whole week, weekend slate of games ahead of you, brother. But I'm gonna say play Stafford. Stafford has been ripping apart, good defenses. I'm not saying the Cardinals defense is a good defense, but they limit the quarterback in fantasy. So I would assume that Matthew Stafford's going to come out and shred. They lost last week. They're going to bounce back in a big way. Do I start Nix or Jordan Love? I would slightly favor Jordan Love over Bo Nix. Bam or Luther Burden? I would take Luther Burden. Jacoby Myers or I'm guessing Michael Wilson. I'm taking Michael Wilson every time. Neal, Jettas, or Watson? I think you just have to play Jettas, right? I know it hasn't been working out too well. He's Justin Jefferson. It's got the mega game has to happen at some point. Jones or Jackson? I'm assuming that's Daniel Jones and Lamar Jackson. I would appreciate if I had some assistance or a little more help with the names. But if it's Daniel Jones and Lamar Jackson, slightly Lamar Jackson over Daniel Jones. Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels. Pittman or Monangai, I'm taking Pittman, not Monangai. DJ Moore, Christian Watson, or Ladd McConkey. Taking Ladd McConkey in that one. Shakir or Brian Thomas Jr. Let's go Brian Thomas. Stay away from the bad weather in that situation. Sutton, Devontae Smith, or Khalil Shakir. I like Sutton against the Raiders. Kenneth Walker, Devontae Smith. I'm going to go Ken. I feel good about Ken this week. Kincaid or A.D. Mitchell in a must-win. I'm gonna say A.D. Mitchell against the Dolphins. Stafford, Burrow, or Hurts. Stafford, Burrow, or Hurts. Definitely Stafford. Flex Adonai Mitchell or Devin Neal. I would take Devin Neal just for the sake of the volume and the opportunities. Bo versus Lamar. You can play Bo. I would side with Lamar Jackson. Still Lamar is still Lamar at the end of the day. I know he hasn't been balling out, but it's got to be the get-right game. This is a great matchup for the wide receiver room. He should be able to throw the ball and not be rushed. I know they have TJ Watt, so that's kind of ironic, but this should be a good passing game for Lamar Jackson. Christian Watson or Breece. Let's go Breece Hall. Sharp or Bam. I like Sharp slightly. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm just not really feeling Bam Knight this week. Waller, Marks, or Godwin, flex PPR. I'm going to say Chris Godwin. Pick 2, Strange, Pitts, Flowers, Adonai, Terry. Let's go Zay Flowers and Terry McLaurin. Waller, no, we did that one. Vele, Quentin Johnston. I'm going to say Devon Vele, slightly. Christian Watson or Zay Flowers. I like Zay Flowers more. Shakir or Dobbs. Definitely going to go Romeo Dobbs. Jaylen Warren or DK or Franklin or Sutton. Jaylen Warren slightly, but I like Troy Franklin and Cortland Sutton as well. But I'm going to take Jaylen Warren. Woody Marks or Monangai. That one really could go either way. I would say play Monangai. Pittman, Sutton, or Barkley at the flex. Saquon. Is Boswell good this week? Boswell's usually good every week. I would say you could play Boswell this week. If you can't get like Chase McLaughlin, Tyler Loop, Harrison Mevis we talked about earlier, I would just keep it at Chris Boswell. Daniel Jones or Trevor Lawrence? I'm going to say Trevor Lawrence. Burrow or Stafford? I'm going Stafford every time. Swift, Smith, Debo, and Amari Hampton pick 2. DeAndre Swift and Debo Samuel. Keenan Allen or Aaron Jones? I would play Aaron Jones, Michael Wilson, or Monangai. I'm definitely picking Michael Wilson every time. Aaron Jones, Chris Rodriguez, Devin Neal. Let's go Aaron Jones, Devin Neal. Hampton is playing, but Hampton may be limited. Kamani Vidal is probably going to end up being the starting running back tomorrow night. So that's why I'm kind of tempering expectations on Amari Hampton. But if you play in a PPR league, he is a pass-catching back. That is definitely an upside and a plus for him. So for those reasons, he's still a solid play, but there's many guys that I would rather have over Hampton this week. Herbert or Brissett? I'm going to go Brissett, assuming, we don't know still if Herbert's definitely going to play or not. Emeka Egbuka or Jaylen Warren? I'm going to take Egbuka. Talent wins out. Watson, Reed, Shakir, or Strange? I'm going to say Christian Watson. Tyler Warren or Brenton Strange? Tyler Warren. Reed or Keon Coleman? I'm going to go Jaden Reed. I don't love either one of those. Pierce, Burden, or T? I think you just got to play T. Higgins. I wouldn't be so caught up in the snow game. Christian Watson or Emeka Egbuka? I'm going to go Emeka Egbuka, Chris Godwin or Chris Rodriguez. Chris Godwin, Burrow or T-Law. I'm going Burrow still. You could pick up Mevis or McLaughlin. I would pick up Harrison Mevis. Christian Watson or Emeka Egbuka. Still going Emeka Egbuka. Brian Thomas Jr. or ETN. Definitely ETN. Why Devin Neal must start. It's probably one of the, 18 to 20 running backs that's actually going to get a bulk of the carries this weekend. So for those reasons, I like Devin Neal. We don't know how good this team is. They just went wire to wire with the Jets. So for those reasons, I think Devin Neal is a must start. Should I play Jordan Mason? I would be very, I would not be playing Jordan Mason. I would be a little skeptic. I would just wait to see how that goes on your bench. Kincaid or Jawan Johnson. I would play Jawan Johnson. Pittman or Ladd. I would take Ladd slightly over Pittman. Waller or Ingram. I don't love Evan Ingram this week. Let's go Darren Waller. Start Gadsden or pick up Taylor or Walker. I probably wouldn't be starting Gadsden. I would try to pick up someone else. Christian Watson or Jaden Higgins. I would go Christian Watson. Terry or Jaden Reed. Definitely Terry. Neal or Strange. Neal. Scary Terry or Zay Flowers. Slightly go Zay Flowers in that spot. Lamar, Daniel Jones. I'm still going Lamar. Pick 2, Monangai, DK, Godwin, Jaden Higgins. Not playing DK. Kyle Monangai and Chris Godwin. Neal or Strange. Devin Neal. Tua or Caleb. Tua or Caleb. I would say Caleb, unfortunately. I don't like either one of those options this week. Do not start Myers. There's a huge rainstorm. That's good to know. I'm still taking Jacoby Myers. Devin Neal or Watson. Devin Neal. Strange or Kincaid. I'm going to go Brenton Strange. Terry McLaurin or Bateman. Terry McLaurin. Smitty or Zay. Zay. Nico or Flowers. Definitely Nico Collins. Kenneth Gainwell or Monangai. I would slightly go Kenneth Gainwell if it's PPR. Brian Thomas Jr. or Adonai Mitchell. Adonai Mitchell. Thank you guys so much for watching. That is all the time I have for you guys today. Make sure you go check out the YouTube channel, Outlier Fantasy. Pumping out content all season long. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm signing out. Peace. All right, that was a lot to do TikTok and YouTube at the same time. Sorry I ignored you guys on YouTube the whole entire time, but I am logging off. I just got a headache of questions from TikTok. They flooded in, but thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Turtle. I am signing out.